Is there only one? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you and welcome back. We are reconvening open session. Let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and we're going to ask Emiliano Rosas to please lead us. I'm sorry. May I ask you to please remain standing in memory? A moment of silence for the 17 lives lost in Parkland, Florida. Thank you. Thank you. Have roll call. Let me show that all trustees are present. So we will now move to H, announcement of action taken in closed session. Okay, E1, Government Code Section 54957.6, conference with labor negotiators, information received. E2, Government Code Section 54957, public employee discipline, dismissal, release. The board met in closed session to discuss and take action on Government Code Section 54957, public employee discipline, dismissal, release. By adopting resolution number 1718-15, action was taken to release 4 temporary certificated employees. The roll call was as follows. A unanimous yes. By adopting resolution number 17186-16, action was taken to non-reelect 4 certificated employees. The roll call vote was as follows. A unanimous yes. We are now moving on to approval of the agenda.
President Alcala, if I may make two corrections. If you will note on consent agenda item N.10, the correction is that it should read approval of the partnership agreement between UC Davis and Washington Unified School District MESA program. It is not the AVID program, it is the MESA program. So we will make that correction on N10. Another correction is that regretfully on J.1, the choral performance from River City High School is unable to make it this evening.
Also, President Alcala, in order to allow our labor partner CSEA to complete a few last items regarding the item listed under N5, we are requesting that that item be pulled from tonight's agenda and it will be brought back for approval at a future meeting. We appreciate CSEA's continued partnership as we work to better align our job descriptions with the current needs of the district. Also, staff is presenting a revised certificated recommendation, item N2. Each board member has been presented an updated recommendation. There are copies on the side for those attending.
So noted. All right, very good. Okay. So now we will move for the approval of the agenda with those items so mentioned.
I'll motion
Been
to
moved.
approve with those modifications.
Thank you. May I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There are no noes, no abstentions. Unanimously approved. So we will now move to communication celebrations, and we're disappointed to hear that the choral performance will not be happening this evening. So now we will move to J2, the school report, Elkhorn Village Elementary School, Sal Garcia, principal.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board and guests. Thank you all. Thank you all for being here tonight. It is my pleasure to report to you some of the great things that are going on at Elkhorn Village. Tonight with me are several members of the Elkhorn staff, including our assistant principal, Shirley Ramirez, and many families of many Tiger families as well. And so you'll hear a little bit about what's going on at Elkhorn. So we're pleased to report that tonight. And to wrap up our presentation tonight, you'll also get a performance from our students, our Ballet Folklorico students. They've been working incredibly hard this year. This is a group that just started, so they're relatively new, and they've come a long way, and they look amazing tonight. So you guys are in for a treat, so stay tuned,
Fantastic.
okay? All right, so let's begin. And again, you know, our school vision and mission statement is all tied, you know, obviously with LCAP as well, but this is something that we really pride ourselves on in creating conditions for our students to be successful and allowing and giving our students, you know, opportunities as well, opportunities that ordinarily they would not have. As we put together this presentation and got feedback from various staff members, we noted it, you know, our students are in a very, very good place in terms of some of the stuff that they're getting here. So again, you know, our students will be college and career ready through the development of leadership, integrity, and 21st century skills. And our mission statement, again, in partnership with its families, which you can see that we partner up well, and some of you who have attended, you know, some of our events have been able to see that firsthand, and just the power of our community and how welcoming they've been to me in my short time as Elkhorn principal as well. So very fortunate to have that. And again, you know, maintaining high standards for staff and students by implementing engaging instruction, supporting all students, providing inquiry-based learning, and STEAM opportunity activities for all. And that's something that we really take pride on as well. So to highlight some of the areas with LCAP Goal 21st Century Skills, here are some of the items that we offer our students. So obviously Avid Elementary, this is year one for us, you know, so we're off and running with Avid Elementary. We're seeing some wonderful things in classrooms as we visit, as we're in classrooms. 6 through 8, as you can tell, year 10. So this is something that is definitely something that we hang our hat on. You know, our staff is highly certified, you know, at the site. You know, we talked about, you know, the STEM, the pipeline, you know, having it continue not only to K-8, but also when the students get to River City as well. So having those opportunities for our students, and it's something that, you know, in some of the pictures you can just tell the enthusiasm that's there as you walk in, as they're creating, you know, stuff, you know, some items there with, you know, with their fellow classmates. You have, you know, elementary students working with middle school students. So it is amazing and a testament to our staff that really, you know, that really puts forth a tremendous amount of time and effort there. The MESA activities, again, coming up here in March, we've got, you know, our STEM Day. We also got a STEM Girls Day coming up in Woodland, a competition, and also in Napa. You know, so tonight, I know it's one thing to hear it from me, but we also have a few students that we'd like to, you know, that would like to share a few thoughts as far as Avid and MESA. So if you can please welcome up, let's have Bianca Romero and Candelario Arauza and Isaac Swearingen. So guys.
Hi, my name is Isaac Swearingen. I'm in 8th grade. I've been in Avid since 6th grade. This is my 3rd year. This year I'm working on promoting, and next year I want to be an Avid in high school. And I'm an Avid because it keeps me focused on school and I want to go to college.
Hi, my name is Kande Araza. Sorry, my first time speaking in front of people. I am in sixth grade at Elkhorn. I've been in this school since kindergarten. This is my first year in Avid, and I want to be in Avid all the way through high school.
Hello, my name is Bianca Lejuana Romero, and I am in the programs Robotics and Mesa. In robotics, I had the opportunity to attend an all-girls STEM Day field trip, and it was an amazing experience. I have been in Mesa since kindergarten, and I am still in Mesa as a sixth grader. Next month, I will be attending a Mesa competition at UC Davis. The projects me and Candelario will be doing are the Right Stuff Glider and the Tongue Depressor Bridge. These programs and my teachers, Mr. Marine and Mr. Wright, have helped me in school and outside of school a lot. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Moy. I'm in first grade and I've been in Cresta since last year. This year, I'm working on a catapult. Next year, I want to go to Crest again. I am in Crest because I love science and I like to build things.
Again, it's one thing to hear it from us, the staff members, because, we know the enthusiasm, we see it on a daily basis, but to actually hear it from the kids as well is incredible. So very fortunate, again, that we have a committed staff that gives and allows those opportunities for our students. 21st century continued. Again, as you can see here, one-to-one devices in most classes. One of the items that we really, again, are focused on is, just that ongoing training with the Central Valley Foundation, to enhance ELD strategies, and incorporate them in our everyday teaching as well there. And we've also spent a lot of time on, staff development with differentiated instruction for all grade levels, even in the middle schools as well. And as you'll see a little later, we'll touch on it again, but definitely something that we really spend quite a bit of time on. OCAP goal number 2, educational opportunities. Again, here's where this is one of the areas, obviously, that is a focus at Elkhorn. And here to kind of speak on that is our program specialist, Mrs. Yolanda Saka.
I'm going to ask our dual immersion students to come up and join me, please. So can I get Luis, if you're ready, Moy, Christina?
Be a little shy.
They might be a little shy to actually speak, but they are here with us. So, something you want to share? So I'll let them speak instead of having them stand up here.
Hello, my name is Kelly Fonseca Vargas. I have learned so much from the Dual Immersion Program. Thank you.
Moy, would you like to come up here and say something? And Luis, would you like to come up here with Moy? A little shy, that's okay. ¿Quieres decirles en español?
Maybe in English. I like Crest a lot in Elkhorn because a lot of people care, and he wanted to be like that for a long time. And whenever I feel I'll happy at school, I really like him to be with my friends.
Good job. Thank you. So she understood the question in Spanish. So we continue to grow our dual immersion program. I'm not as short as Moy, so I'm going to raise this. I'm not that tall either, but I'll raise it. So we continue to grow our dual immersion program. We are a 90-10 model. We are very proud of the work that we've done. We have some of our dual immersion teachers here as well, so thank you to their hard work and dedication. We have a high interest from our community, so we are currently enrolling students for our third year. We're so happy. We're up to 40 students right now enrolled. We're in the middle of assessing incoming students. We have 48 spots, so we're very proud of the enrollment numbers that we're seeing in the program. High interest. Our teachers focus a lot on the language input in kinder and in first grade. We're starting to see that progress in our students. As you can see, their English skills are just as strong as they may be a little shy to speak right now in Spanish, but they are just as capable in Spanish, and we're very proud of the work that they have shown. So that's what I have. Thank you.
And just to hit on a few other things as well with the dual immersion program is steadily we are becoming a destination school. You know, we have families that are seeking us out. For example, we currently have a family from Elk Grove right now, other schools within WUSD as well. And also recently families moving in from Davis as well, so coming in, and so we're really excited about the prospect of having being on the map, so to speak, and people wanting to come in and be a part of our school community, and also the partnership, which I think is important, so that no DI schools are working in isolation. Really creating a partnership with various Twin Rivers programs and Brobla programs as well. So again, to establish that network and that collaboration to really ease the burden that is of just getting through the assessments and all the other stuff as well. So we're really, kind of moving forward on that end as well. So we're excited about the work that's coming. Other opportunities there, as we've mentioned as well, electives, the robotics, the AVID, the MESA, all high interest. We got students that just gravitate towards those electives as well. Sought after for sure. That level designated ELD, ALD instructional time, it's crucial, when we have such a high number of EL students receiving instruction at their appropriate level. After school opportunities, and intervention opportunities, again, for students in K-8, that happens on a daily basis. VAPA for students in K-5, the band, for kids. Field trips, for students. I was just with our third grade classrooms, our third grade students last week at Cirque Eloise at the Mondavi Center. An incredible experience as well. So it was great that I was able to get out there with them and see that enthusiasm firsthand. And again, the ballet folklorico that you're going to see here in a few minutes, and also too adding a little science to soccer. Right, and we're working with the Coast to Coast program there, and the crew that comes out and works with our students Tuesdays and Thursdays are very enthusiastic, and our kids definitely love getting out there too. And it's neat watching them answer math questions as they kick the ball around. So good stuff. Again, some other things, partnering up with River City and Buddy program, huge success. We had that about 2 weeks ago, and again, high interest on both ends from River City students and also from Elkhorn students. Opportunities online for students include Lexia, Newsella, Imagine Learning, MobiMax, Prodigy, and Desmos. Again, PACE academic academies, for our students. Experience Core AARP tutoring program, so we have currently right now several of our second and third grade classrooms, working with retired teachers to come in and, offering tutoring services with them as well. So, we have a crew that was with us last year as well, so there's familiarity. Our students, know the kids, or our students know the teachers that come in. So we're seeing some benefits there, so we really appreciate that partnership. Again, Youth Symposium with Sigma Gamma Rho, for the fourth year, and that's coming up on March 10th. And then we're getting ready to sponsor a College and Career Week and a College Career Night coming up here in March. So a lot of stuff coming up. LCAP goal number 3, high quality teaching and learning. Again, professional development for all staff during site district collaborations. Some of our emphasis on site collaboration days is on AVID strategies, that we're seeing, again, school-wide, differentiated instruction, and of course, ELD strategies. Online PD opportunities, utilizing the Edivate site. Nicole, I saw you back there. I'm sure you're going to be excited about that one, because that's something that we're really pushing, our staff to team up as a grade level and really start seeking out and learning on their own as well. And the continued work with the Dream Team, and that's also kind of spreading. So we're excited about that. again, utilizing our Illuminate program to create formative assessments and use that data to really drive the instruction is something that we're really, keying in on as well. And another thing, too, is year 3 of roundtable discussions, which is basically the MTSS. Again, the opportunity for staff to sit down and really discuss student needs and areas of concern, and really just addressing the academic and social emotional needs of all students. School climate, LCAP goal number 4. So we have a couple things in place, and Shirley is going to tell us a little bit about our BEST program that we have on campus.
Hello, good evening. So our BEST program is pretty big and pretty huge at Elkhorn. We start off in early September with our big kickoff event. It's our day, it's a fun-filled day, but it's also the day when we start talking and bring out the message of the importance of being safe, responsible, and respectful, and also an anti-bullying message. You can see some pictures there. Mr. Garcia, usually we have the Kings and the River Cats come out and support us this day as well. Some of you I know have joined us on this day as well. There's so much under BEST, but I'm just going to focus on 2 things that actually have come out of our MTSS process the last 3 years. And the first thing is our mentor program. We have a majority of our staff have volunteered to be mentors, and we target our Tier 2 and our Tier 3 students that fall on Tier 2 or Tier 3 based on social emotional needs or behavioral needs. And they get to choose a mentor, and this is someone they can find, whenever they need during the day or check in with at least once a day. And it's kind of like, have a good day, is there anything you need? But they have that point person they can go to. Maria Oneida, who's also our reading specialist, she's part of our BEST committee, and she oversees the program. And we do celebrations just about every 4 to 6 weeks with the mentors and the mentees, and they do activities together. There's food involved, so everybody's really happy, and it's just building that positive relationship. For our Tier 3 students, we do BEST intervention plans. So a lot of these students may have multiple behaviors or challenges they're having. We try to pick one that we start with and target that one. We have the committee, we have the parents and the students all involved, and we've seen a lot of success with those plans this year. So again, it's just, I think part of it is the committee that we have is very strong. It's a lot of work to be part of BEST, but we see the benefits and how it directly affects our school climate in a very positive way and being able to meet the needs of various students. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Shirley. And just to highlight a couple things here, one of the things that that amazing again for students to really take on is that that partnership with the Yolo Farm to Fork, in the creation of the school garden. So right now, we've got kids, planting, growing, harvesting, and actually eating, having it be a part of our school lunches as well. So that process for them is, and having the students take ownership has been amazing to see as well. So very proud of that. And also too, I recently created student newspaper, the Tiger Times, and you will have a copy at the end of the night, so you guys will get a chance to kind of get keyed in as far as what's going on at Elkhorn. So in addition to staff climate as well, during the winter break, the Elkhorn staff, we had 46 members of the Elkhorn staff fly down to Los Angeles and do some training at the Museum of Tolerance. So we took part in the Tools for Tolerance training there, and Mrs. Romero is going to speak a little bit.
Hi, everyone. So the Museum of Tolerance was a pretty amazing experience. The biggest piece that I think we all took from it, it was an opportunity for us to grow as a staff, not just as teachers, not just teachers collaborating. We took everyone. We had yard duties. We had lunch ladies. We were all there, and I learned so much about people who'd been there just as long as I have for a decade. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this about your story. I didn't know this about your story. And really bringing us together as a whole staff and making real connections to help us be a unified staff. It was really, you could feel it when we came back. Man, we were together. And then using the tools, in addition to that, about teaching tolerance and reminding us of the message that we can and we do affect kids' lives, and we can do affect them positively with the message of tolerance and treating everyone with respect. And it was, we got to hear the survivor testimony. I mean, just being in the museum and feeling all of that history and taking that forward and learning from it. It's just a pretty fantastic opportunity. And I'm extremely grateful to Sal for taking us on that voyage with him. It was amazing. Thank you.
Goal number 5. Again, these are various ways that our parents and are able to kind of get involved here at our school. Obviously, we have various committees and opportunities where parents can come in and provide input and just have an opportunity to sit down and chat with the staff at Elkhorn as well. So one of the things that I want to highlight again is that parent-led reading and homework support. This comes from an idea of one of our parents, one of our dual immersion parents who was seeking support in Spanish. So she sought out some of the Spanish-speaking families, and together they've kind of formed the group, and the group is slowly growing, and they're providing that support. So all we're doing is providing space and some snacks, and they're coming in and networking and having a great time. So we're really proud to see that program, off and running as well. So it's exciting. I hear that I will probably have a spot in Elkhorn's Got Talent. Some of you may have attended before. I keep saying that I'm a behind-the-scenes kind of guy, but apparently I'm going to have a role, so we'll keep you all posted. And then we're excited on March 2nd to host, the Yolo County Office of Ed Superintendent, Dr. Jesse Ortiz, as well as principal for a day as well. So we're excited for that. And as Mrs. Romero alluded to earlier, the messages that we brought back from the Museum of Tolerance is just, about really getting to know our kids and what, types of experiences they're bringing and really trying to get to understand them. And a couple of our teachers really took on this project here that they created. And it was called 30 Days of Things That Are Good. And this is something that, again, kind of spread at school. And these are just a couple things that the kids had to say. One of them, I finally found someone I can talk about my problems. We helped the first graders in class today. And Mr. Russell, bought us dinner after interviews. And that may seem like something very small, but obviously to this child, it was something that meant a lot. And I think, again, in my short time there, the one thing that is very, consistent and is quite evident is just we have a caring staff that really provides a nurturing environment to foster learning. And, we really pride ourselves on Elkhorn being the spot where kids want to be. So, again, there's some good stuff there. And again, we want to thank you all for your support. And are we ready for some kids?
Oh, we sure
Yeah?
are.
Okay, so let's do this.
Bear in mind, they are very excited to perform for you, but they are also very nervous. So I think I'm just going to do a test run really quick. All right, we'll be right back.
Well, once again, thank you very much. And we have a little something for you guys as well. So,
Stick.
yeah, thank you once again. Y gracias a todos ustedes por estar con nosotros aquí esta noche, que se lo agradezco mucho. Gracias.
A los padres les queremos decir por parte de la mesa directiva escolar aquí que nos da tanto orgullo ver a sus niños bailando y disfrutando. Gracias por venir esta noche. Gracias.
Sal, do you know what grade levels were those kids? 6 through 8?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Open invitation and the kids came, some of them didn't even tell their parents they wanted
That's great.
Okay, so, thank you. So now we're moving on to the Student Association reports, and we have Student Board Member Report. I'm sorry. Dazer, I'm sorry, Dazer. Junohian?
It's just Daisy.
I'm sorry, Days, I'm sorry, okay. I'm really bad at some of these pronunciations. From Washington Middle College High School, thank you.
Good morning. Good evening. I'm sorry. Good evening, everyone. I'm Daisy Tolentino, and I'm the school board representative for Washington Middle College High School. And I'm here to present the board report of February 22nd. I would like to thank Elkhorn for their wonderful performance. It was a show. All right. In Westfield, January 31st, sixth grade students participated in a science lab activity at the California State University, Chico. Westfield students were able to experience the college life through a hand-on science lab activity. Students returned motivated to learn and hopeful for the future possibilities. February 12th, Westfield's third to fifth grader STC students were brought by horse and carriage for Old Sacramento to Sutter's Fort, where they were given the opportunity to learn the experience of early settlers. Westfield students, staff, and parent volunteers dressed in clothing and sang songs reflective of this era while learning about our local history and the reason people of all groups sought refuge at Sutter's Fort. Also at February 12, the first and second graders were gifted with the exposure to the arts at Mondavi Center by our generous local sponsor. We are forever grateful. They are forever grateful for the spark of excitement in the eyes of their little ones. They cannot wait for more opportunities to expose their students to the world of arts. In Westmore Oaks, they're pleased to report that positive things are happening for their staff and students in the Home of the Dragons. February 7th, Westmore won the College Gear Trophy for the second month in a row for staff and students arriving to campus wearing college-themed clothing. Last Thursday, Miss Molyneux, their VAPA teacher held the second trimester VAPA theater showcase for their kindergarteners, first and second graders. Tomorrow, at Friday, February 23rd, at 8:30 a.m., their third to fifth graders will be performing, and they welcome everyone to attend, to witness their drama skills. Their garden club continues to cultivate science and nutritional knowledge along with the fabulous fruits and vegetables that students are harvesting in their school cafeteria. Ms. Garcia and Mr. Willis, their middle school science teachers, have been piloting a new NGSS, Aligned Science curriculum this semester that is web-based and hands-on. They encourage the board members to come see and smell the living ponds of their students have been building in class. That exists within about the relation so they can learn the relationships that exist within the ecosystems. They anticipate to adding frogs to these mini ecosystems next week. In River City, leadership will be hosting their first Powder Puff rally on Friday, March 9th. It will combine academic excellence, teacher involvement, and Powder Puff. They will also be holding their Power Puff game at 6 p.m. that Friday. Their Lady Raiders will be playing against the ladies of Ranch Cordova, and their gentlemen will be cheering on the sidelines. And their spirit days for this week will be Monday, March 5th, Nike versus Adidas. Tuesday, Uniform Day. Wednesday, College Day. Thursday, Night In versus Night Out. It's comfy clothes versus fancy clothes. And pink versus black. And for their athletics report, for girls basketballs, the Lady Raiders qualified for the CIF SJS playoffs for the 7th time in 8 years. The Raiders lost in the first round to Kennedy, 50-46. In the boys basketball, in a dramatic turnaround from last year, the Raiders finished second in the TCC. The boys qualified for the CIF playoffs, but the Raiders lost to Folsom in the first round. The Lady Raiders in soccer were co-champions of the TCC. They qualified as a 3rd seed of Division II CIF playoffs. In the first round, the Raiders beat Elk Grove 3-1. And the Raiders will be hosting a 2nd round playoff game on Friday at 6:30. In the boys soccer, the Raiders won their 2nd TCC title. In the first round of the playoffs, the Raiders defeated Vallejo 3-2. And tonight, they're taking on the West High School at River City. In wrestling, Gabe Luna qualified for the CIF Masters Tournament this weekend. And Michelle Commission finished 2nd at the Masters Tournament last weekend. Michelle will be wrestling in the state tournament this weekend as well. In Bridgeway Island, Visual Arts Performing Arts Music Showcase. The kids will perform songs they have learned with Mr. McCall accompanying on the guitar. Fit for Girls program has come to Bridgeway to show and share some fitness tips and healthy habits for females. Also, they are having a Bridgeway Islands Principal Cafe. It will be held for all parents of Bridgeway Island in the library at 8:15 a.m. on February 23rd. Kim Harrison, Director of Technology, will be the special guest in discussing digital citizenship. And in YOLO Education Center, 3rd quarter awards, huddle celebrated 23 students for their improvements in academics, behavior, and attendance. Another successful round for IAB testing at YOLO High School. And coming to YOLO Friday, February 23rd, is Google Expedition, which is a technology-designed curriculum specifically for education. And in Washington Middle College High School, on February 9th, we held our successful Sweetheart Dance. Ms. Bradley and leadership students did a great job planning a wonderful evening. We're looking forward to participating in the Google Expeditions AR event this Friday. Students will take part in brief lessons led by our teachers in science and social science using Google's augmented reality equipment. Our seniors are visiting the Capitol on February 28th. They'll get to observe a joint hearing involving the Education and Budget subcommittees, and will get a tour of the Capitol. They will also be meeting with their state representatives, Senator Pan and Assemblymember McCarthy, to discuss recent proposed legislation they wrote in their government class. Some other current legislation our students are concerned about is the Assembly Bill 10. AB 10 is a bill that was signed into law recently by Governor Jerry Brown to provide low-income public schools free access to tampons and pads. AB 10 isn't being applied at all of the schools in our district. Our students are concerned about not having access to tampons and pads when they're in need, which could lead to increased absences. Our leadership class is busy working on a voter registration drive and a unity event after being inspired by current events of young people across the United States taking political action. Our Friday speaker series is on a roll. This Friday, we got a USD Zone Principal Ainsworth coming to talk to our students. Previous speakers have included representatives from 3davis.org, Superintendent Luna, and the Yolo County Office of Education Superintendent Ortiz. Speaking of 3 Davis, be sure to mark your calendar for West Sacs Arbor Day celebration. That will take place in our cafeteria. A Wednesday, March 7th at 11 a.m. And this concludes the student board report of February 2nd, 2018.
Thank you so much. That was a very comprehensive report. Thank you. Okay, we will now move on to WTA report. Don Stauffer.
Good evening. The new discipline matrix and new accountability dashboard indicator on suspensions has led to changes on how student behavioral issues are being dealt with. If I had to summarize what site administrators are hearing is lower your suspension rates. What they are not hearing is deal with the underlying issues that lead to student disciplinary actions. As a result, here are some of the things I'm hearing from teachers across the district. Serious and false accusations against teachers are not being adequately addressed. Bullying issues are not being taken seriously. Classified staff are being directed not to write referrals. At least one administrator has, on her own, decided to implement what she's calling restorative justice, but no one knows what kind of training has been done, and definitely the staff at that site has not been included. So needless to say, teachers aren't feeling very well supported right now, and several have told me they wish to transfer from their specific sites feeling not safe anymore. We currently have one active grievance related to discipline issues, and there are active things going on at 3 additional sites that may lead to grievance process. Teachers would love to work on a comprehensive program dealing with student disciplinary and behavioral issues. What currently is happening is neither comprehensive nor a program. One of the items that was explicitly included in the 2014 Measure V bond was installation of updated security gates at the high school. Given what happened last week in Florida, there is growing impatience to see something happen. It's my understanding that work is going to be occurring soon, and I hope this evening we can get an update on the timelines of things. And speaking of the tragedy in Florida and the reactions to that tragedy, I'd like to make a proposal. On March 14th, a national school walkout is planned. I propose that Washington Unified organize events on our campuses on that day that would align with the spirit of the walkout, would also commemorate the people who were killed last week, and also provide an opportunity to offer needed training to our staff and students on the issues surrounding and preventing gun violence. I did find an organization founded by parents who lost children at Newtown called Sandy Hook Promise. And they've created a no-cross program they distribute to schools across the country. And I'm sure there are other programs out there, but I think it would do us well to take advantage of programs such as that. And if it's fixing fences or providing training, I think we need to do it before something happens, and I think we need to be prepared. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Do we have anyone from CSEA? Okay, very good. Now, we will now go to public comments. At this time, members of the public may address the board on topics that are under the jurisdiction of the board and are not on the agenda, although the board, by law, may not take action at this meeting. The board may limit the total time for public input on any topic to 20 minutes unless it chooses to waive the item limit for a particular item. Individual speakers may be limited to 3 minutes to comment on any topic. Public comments consisting of individual charges, complaints, or derogatory remarks about any district employee are requested to be submitted in writing to the administration in accordance with the district's complaint procedure. We do recognize that for a lot of people commenting before the board and the audience and the people watching at home on television, it's a nerve-wracking experience. So to try to make that as easy as possible, we do ask there not be any applause or booing or catcalling or other demonstrations to maintain the civil discourse here in the chambers. The board respects the rights of members of the public to speak to us regarding matters on the agenda and other matters within the jurisdiction of the board. However, it is important for members of the public to recognize that comments regarding students, other than the speaker's own children, made during a public board meeting may be legally actionable as a violation of student privacy. Both state and federal law prohibits the board and others from discussing confidential student information in open session. To this end, be advised that if you reference a student's name other than your own student, it will be out of order and your comments may not be protected by the privileges that protect public speech. You could be found liable for such comments in legal proceedings. Furthermore, it is important for the public to understand that negative or derogatory comments made against district employees or others, even those made in public board meetings, may be actionable civil defamation. As such, the board reminds the public that the district has existing board policy that allows the public to lodge a complaint against a district employee. This policy provides comprehensive procedure for reviewing and responding to public comments. This process provides a more thorough opportunity to be heard than is allowed under the open meeting law that governs this meeting. We do have one public comment. Julie Law, Martin, and Anselmo Marin.
Hi. So My name is Julie Lamarin. This is Anselmo Marin.
Anselmo Marin, hi.
We are some of the advisors on behalf of the CREST and MESA programs, and we decided that, it worked out well that tonight we're actually approving the MESA, but we said, every year we appreciate the recognition we get for our programs and what we do, but we never have a chance to invite you in advance because we always forget to. So we figured this would be a good time to actually invite you to come to our competitions. So we have 2 competitions coming up.
The first one is next month at UC Davis, and that's on St. Patrick's Day, and that's for our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. Also, our high school MESA program will be there. So that's at UC Davis. And then the following one will be next month, which will be for CREST, and that one is Saturday, April 28th, and that one is going to be held somewhere in Elk Grove. They haven't decided on the site yet, but that will be in Elk Grove.
And on April 28th, depending on how we do on March 17th, that actually will be our regional competition as well. So we're going to need to figure out where we're going on that day. But we will be, if we make it to that next level, we will be going to East Bay as well for a regional competition.
Can I ask a basic question? I'm not Irish. When is St. Patrick's Day?
March 17th.
March 17th, excuse me.
I mean, just in case you're wondering, I'm not Irish. Yes.
So we have for you some flyers. You can post them up, and we also have some MESA buttons and some CREST magnets for you. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you send that out in an email, the dates, so I can put it in my calendar when it's right in front of me?
Sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Here it is.
Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you. Oh, cool button, too. Got it, thank you. Okay. Wonderful, thank you. So now we will go to board and superintendent comments. Begin by saying that I stand with the children and teachers of Parkland, Florida, in holding town halls and planning marches to bring humanity to America's gun laws. I joined with the father of the murdered child who asked, how many more children need to die? All assault weapons need to be banned. California has gone a long way in doing that. However, we still have exceptions here, and people bring them into the state. This must be a national effort. I want to be able to look at our elected officials in the eye and know that they are not accepting NRA money when the price is our children's lives. I'm determined to take all action necessary to protect our children in WSD. No parent should have to fear that their children will be murdered when they go to school. We are doing everything at WSD to protect our children. I invite parents to come to our board meetings to engage in conversation with us to make suggestions to see what else can be done to protect our children. We need to do something because thoughts and prayers are a cop-out for doing nothing. So yesterday evening, I, along with board members Alicia Cruz and Sarah Kirby-Gonzalez, attended the annual American Sikh Public Affairs Association event. Sikh community members Amar Shargil and our West Sacramento's Parveen Tumber extended the invite to us. It was wonderful greeting. It was a wonderful evening, and we also saw other West Sacramento leaders like Beverly Sandine, Mark Johannesson, Martha Guerrero, Christopher Cabalden, Francisco Castillo, and Bernadette Austin. I was honored to have the privilege of introducing gubernatorial candidate Antonio Villalobos, former mayor of Los Angeles. He spoke about the importance of diversity in our schools. I hope, if he is elected, that he understands the role of public education and the role of public schools in our society. Also, I want to say that I'm very proud that our students are becoming so civically engaged. It was wonderful to hear the comments on SB 10. That they will be meeting with Assemblymember McCarty and with Senator Penn, and they're so active in doing a lot of the voter registration and outreach. This is what we at WUSD, our wonderful teachers and our board members, are hoping that our young people will do, become civically engaged, because you are the young and future leaders. Thank you. So now I will call on board member Alicia Cruz.
Well, our student representative stole a lot of my thunder, but that's okay. It did bring back memories about Sutter's Fort. I'm glad to hear some of our classes are still participating in that. I participated with both of my kids here, and it's a great experience. Also, I attended basketball senior night at the high school. The rest of my board had a special board meeting, and if you ever have attended a sporting event at the high school, when you have a senior, they present their mother with the rose, and their family gets to join them in their last high school sporting game, and it's pretty emotional. And our basketball team, as our students said, had a tough year last year, but ended up in second place this year in league, and we lost to a tough game last night at Folsom. I'll have to say they had a young man that was 6'8", and he pretty much just stood under the basket and just kept tossing it in. But our kids didn't give up, and so I'm really happy for our kids this year. They had a great year, and happy for me that was probably my last basketball game that I had to attend in the last 18 years. I'll miss it, but probably not so much. It's a busy season. I did, with board member Wong, we attended the River City Crab Feed the other night, benefiting the high school band. And, quote, my husband, he's never eaten so much crab in his life. It was really good. Sold out, and it's at the Auto Museum, and it's a great place to go. We also... The city, as I stated the last board meeting, on our 2x2 meeting, they canceled it. We were able to reschedule it to March 19th. It is a public meeting, so if anybody wants to come and join us, I'll let the rest of the board members know that Board Member Alcala and myself are meeting with Superintendent Linda next week on agenda items for the 2x2. So if any other board members have something for the agenda, let President Alcala know, or Superintendent Luna, so we can have those topics talked about the 2x2. And I think that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Kirby-Gonzalez.
Thank you. I attended, feels like a long time ago now, but not since our last board meeting, regular board meeting. And that was on February 9th, the California Association of Suburban School Districts as a guest. And thank you to Trustee Wong for helping to set that up. And it was a really great organization to sit at the table and listen to districts from all over, suburban districts from down south, all around here, come together and talk about challenges and talk about their perspectives, processes, and then their priorities. And common themes that came up are themes that we hear in many things. For example, special education funding. And across the state, we see the costs going up and the money from the state going down when it comes to our special education students, and that really being a struggle of how to best serve our kids. And that's a place where they will make their voice, and we might want to join them on some of those places. Another piece that they talked about that we'll want to keep a close pulse on is in the governor's budget proposal, the CTE money going through the community colleges is his proposal instead of the way it's been. So we'll just want to keep our pulse and our voices on that if we want to speak out on that piece. And then a sample resolution that I think we should bring forward would be that they would like by April 4th, so they will take and present these, will be in support of the Proposition 51 school facility funds. And since we have not gotten any of those funds released, and so a bond in support of that. It doesn't cost our taxpayers any money. They voted and approved it, and we just need that facility money. Which I think facilities is an important equity piece as we look at where we are in terms of the money we get from the state. Another conversation that they brought up, and I don't know how we'd feel about it. I just put it out there to let us simmer. I don't know how our high school folks would feel about it. I am usually pro less state testing, and so I think that I like this, but I don't know any other negative consequences there might be. And they want to support AB 1951, which would be in lieu of smarter balanced assessments in 11th grade, using It doesn't have to be the SAT, but using a nationally recognized assessment, which could be the SAT. We're doing that anyways. The SAT has, some criticism sometimes too, but the idea is not having two tests for our kids. And so if we can do what makes sense here, and I'm generally in favor of having less testing like that. So those were some of the conversations. I have an extra piece here, so I'll ask that we have copies maybe made and that the board trustees can see that, so you can see the priorities and what they were talking about. And then I printed out actually today all the documents from the Sandy Hook Promise, and there are a lot of good resources on that site. And they're right now in my copier. I forgot to bring them here, but they were here to share, and they're very easy to access, and they're good pieces, and there are ways to connect to bring people in, and to have funding help with that. So I don't know what the funding looks like. It wasn't mentioned on their site when you pull everything up, but that might be the organization that we want to look at and use, or maybe there's others. But I'm glad that we're going to have a conversation later today about safety, and that is one piece of this puzzle. And so thank you for bringing that up. It's important. And that's all for me.
Okay, thank you. Kobe Pizzati?
Yeah, I'd just like to start off by saying that I'll be attending Principal for a Day at Elkhorn, so with Dr. Ortiz. So it was kind of nice to see your crew come out here and put on such a great performance and meet all your kids and teachers. That was really good, so I thought I'd just say I'll be seeing you soon. And then I just wanted also to comment about Parkland and say that it breaks my heart that there have been so many school shootings just in this, first month and a half of the year. And I can't really stomach seeing any more, but what I think is really important to note is that the students are finally holding people accountable, and they're the ones standing up and saying, enough. And I have a feeling, I don't know how much this is going to influence lawmakers, but I have a feeling when the students are standing up and saying enough is enough, we're the targets of these mass shootings, we're the ones being shot and killed, that maybe, just maybe, people will take notice and actually do something. I saw I think a town hall the other night where Senator Rubio of Florida was basically took to task by a 17-year-old student who was a survivor. And it's really great to see the kids being this engaged and saying, we're not going to take it anymore. Because Lord knows we've been trying for years to try and get better gun regulations, and nothing has happened. California, we've been very successful. We've always had good gun laws here in California, and we see fewer shootings here than we do in the rest of the country. But, it's really just sad. The thing that happened in Florida, the kid bought an AR-15. He was able to get it at 19 years old. So maybe we should be looking at increasing national gun age to purchase a gun, unless you're in a military or in the police. But those are not for us to be discussing. It's for lawmakers to be listening to kids. And I really hope they do actually take some action and do something about it, because this is enough. So now on to happier thoughts. I attended the Bridgeway Island VAPA performance this week and got to see the little ones singing their hearts out, and oh my God, it was precious. And by all means, if you ever get a chance to see kids singing at the top of their lungs and how enthusiastic they were about singing, it'll make you smile from ear to ear for the rest of the day. So that was something I really enjoyed. I can say my daughter personally absolutely loves it and was just going crazy, with hand movements and everything. So I really was taken aback by how awesome it was. Let's see, then also I want to make a comment off of what I heard Don say. If you're suggesting that the message is to reduce the suspensions and not addressing the root of the problem on suspensions, then please get with the appropriate staff here and provide whatever solutions you can think of, because I think that's something that needs to be done as well. We need to hear from all parties on what kind of solutions we can come up with. So, thank you. And then I just wanted to bring this up that I thought I heard at a previous board meeting that we were going to be looking at the board handbook, but I didn't see it on the future agenda items, so I would like to add it as a future agenda item if we could, please.
I'm sorry, which one?
Board handbook.
Okay, board
We
handbook.
look at it every year.
Right,
so.
board handbook. Okay, very good. Comments?
Yeah, I'm
Done?
good.
Okay, great, thank you. Jackie Wong?
Chúc mừng năm mới, Gung Hei Pha Choi. Happy Lunar New Year, all. So I apologize that I missed the last board meeting where Southport was actually represented, so my home district. I was deathly in the flu, and I followed all the district protocols that I shouldn't be around people for, if I had 102 degrees fever for at least, I thought it was 48, but it's only 24. So in any case, I apologize that I was out. I rallied for the crab feed. That was 24 hours, no fever, by the way. So it was, I know that there was a very robust robust conversation, so I appreciate that. Sal, I appreciate the Ballet Folklorio. And then just, on the note of what happened in Parkland is that I think a lot of the conversation is also, that we need to think about is kind of inclusion, right? Like, how do people and kids feel connected to community? What is within our jurisdiction as schools, right? 19 years old, you just graduated high school a couple years prior to that. Like, what was happening all along? Clearly was adopted, former foster youth, I'm assuming. Is that what is our responsibility to kind of be able to train? And I don't know if Sandy Hook has this, kind of what are the warning signs of, like, how do you re-engage kids, right? All along the path of what we're responsible from K-12 or pre-K to 12. Right, and are we providing our sites those resources? Not half-time outreach workers, half-time social workers. Maybe we may consider like full-time staff that are actually specifically targeted for those communities. Right, that they're not split between 3, 4, 5 campuses. Right, because there are CPS reports everywhere. So kind of thinking about, and I know that I also missed the mental health presentation last time, but the question then becomes, are there partnerships with the county mental health department and the to fund social workers more fully, to not kind of actually pull in our budgets? I know in Oakland, that's how we funded a lot of our middle school outreach workers and school social workers, where we actually draw down on the EPSDT funds, right, and medical MA billing. Kind of things to think about of how do you actually best support that if we really want to do it right, and make sure that we have enough eyes to make the teachers feel safe and supported to do what they do best in their classrooms, to teach. Right, and so that there's a community wrapped around them, right, to support that, right, and so I just kind of wanted to kind of mention that. I also want to acknowledge the phenomenal job that all our staff have been doing. I mean, I missed a lot of crises, right? Like during a lot has happened in a couple of weeks. It feels like it's been months, but I want to applaud our cabinet and our staff with dealing kind of with the things that have been showing up in the news. I thought that was really eloquent, what Superintendent Luna was kind of around the curriculum issue at Stonegate, all due respect, and kind of sharing her story of, like, again, little things like that lead to a sense of, do I belong here? Am I included in here? Right? And so having eyes and us taking a firm stance that, yes, we believe that all kids and all the, from whatever background they have belong here. And we don't stand for anything that excludes young people from education, right? Again, just kind of wanting to hone in on that and the great job that I think that you all have done with that. And that's all I have. Yes, and later we'll be talking about CSBA and a resolution dealing with equitable funding, and we can talk a little bit more about that.
Okay, thank you. So we are now moving on to the consent agenda. We have N5 was removed for our next meeting, and Linda? Oh, I'm sorry, superintendent comments. I'm sorry, Linda.
Okay.
Thank you, President Alcala, Board of Trustees, and guests. This evening, I'll start with a little bit of just some reflection before we go into our school celebrations. We will never forget what has happened in Florida. And though Parkland, Florida is 3,082 miles away from West Sacramento, we have felt the devastation, the anguish, the deep sadness, and fear that occurs after a tragic loss of innocent life. Our nation has been shaken to its core because we have all had enough of these senseless acts of violence that change our communities forever. The safety of our schools and our campuses are always at the priority of our work. We can always improve in the systems and the protocols. So tonight, I just want to touch briefly about what we do have in place. In the area of school safety, we start with the basics of safety drills. We have lockdown drills, we have evacuations and fire drills. The discussion that has been occurring about this is, do we need to change the way that we do our drills? Because there have been 2 recent school shootings from evacuation drills where the shooter was very strategic. As the students exited, that was their target. So we have to think about our system. We have to think about when things happen, how does it impact our processes and our procedures so that we can be better at what we're doing here. Our communication system, we do have that. We have different levels of communication systems. So we've implemented the constant contact that reaches over 5,000, or maybe it's close to 7,000. I can't remember which number it is. But nevertheless, it's gone from not having anything like that to over 5,000 at this point. Every school has what we call the robocall or the auto dialer, in which the principal or an administrator at the school site has access to send an immediate communication. And here's where we need our help. We need the help of our parents, because without updated information of a change of a cell phone number, a change of an address, we won't be able to reach you unless we know what those up-to-date cell phone numbers are. The third area that we work on are our safety plans, which are required by education code. The board will be reviewing all of those in the next few weeks and taking approval and action on those at the March 8th meeting. So the schools have been working on that specific plan. In terms of the River City gates, I just happen to have the timeline here with me. So on September 26, 2016, the board approved an architectural study to have a study done on the effectiveness of adding more crash bars to the River City campus. It's a huge campus. It's also an open campus. On May 11th, 2017, the board approved architectural design services to then start creating what would the designs be and what would the costs be in order to put those crash bar gates up. On July 13th, 2017, the board had, I think it's called topographical study surveys. And then it went into DSA submittal. Just January 2018 did we receive DSA approval to be able to move forward. Now, moving forward doesn't mean we start construction tomorrow. After DSA approval, what we're entering into now is a bid walk, bid opening, and then coming to final board approval after the bids processes have been completed, at which point then you'll know exactly when we will start to break ground. What we've decided, instead of waiting until students aren't around, we can do this in different sections, and we will have to work with the campus itself, with people understanding the importance of why we're going to be closing off certain parts and certain exits in order to get this project done. So I'm glad the question was asked tonight, and I just happened to have that, and so we are in motion on that. And that is actually part of school safety and how we invest our resources so that we ensure the highest level of safety possible. In another area of our school safety, our police partnerships, our law enforcement sometimes does training actually on our campuses when we're not around. And so what that means is it gives them a way of knowing what our campus looks like while they're doing their exercises and activities, which is very important. We have school resource officers that are not there just for the safety part of it. They also serve a different purpose. Our school resource officers serve as a positive role model for our students and our families. They serve as mentors. They serve as counselors to our students. And on the weekends, when people need help, when our families need help, and our officers happen to be on duty, they already have a connection and a partnership and a relationship with our families and our students. So that's the level of our school resource officers that we have invested in our partnerships. The other thing, even though we have only 2 resource officers, we have a strong partnership with our West Sacramento Police Department that they are always available, whether or not our school resource officers are on our campus. The most important part, I believe, in terms of addressing tragedy and loss, is how we address the social and emotional support. And I'm going to tell you right now that Washington Unified is second to none in terms of this. This is the model district for what we do in terms of emotional and social support for our students and our families. Our crisis and prevention team, unfortunately, is really, really good at what they do. It's unfortunately that we've had to see it in action too much. So that being said, our LCAP is well invested in addressing this because we know students have to have basic needs addressed first before the deep, deep learning occurs. So in terms of that, I'll just take us back to what we continue to talk about throughout the year of MTSS, the multiple tiers of support. Without that, we're in chaos. We're in chaos. Without a system of levels of what do we do at this level, what do we do at this level, what resources do we have in place at this level, without that system, it's chaos. Or it is over-identifying and not giving the proper and appropriate treatment and support to our families and students. And that's why we're doing the heavy lift and the work of multiple tiers of support system. I also want to let you know, I think you have a copy. We've been working on a particular project for many, many months. It's the work of Yorgos Kazanis, our public information officer. There are a few school districts that came together that were highlighted in a newspaper that is going at, I keep getting my numbers mixed up. Is it 70,000 people? 70,000 people in Northern California is going to get this in their hands. Washington Unified is spotlighted. in this particular newspaper, and it talks about the new California dashboard. Our page is on page 6, and this is really, you want to take the time to read this story because it falls under the social emotional support of Washington Unified, where a student's story and a student's journey in our district is highlighted here, where they actually interviewed her, and she talked about how she made it to high school, through high school, because the bottom line was that Washington Unified never gave up on me. That's her quote. And I really appreciate it because I feel like there was a part of me that gave up on me. That's the social emotional support that we have in place in our district. In terms of school visitor registration, sometimes we're not the most popular people when we keep an eye on people entering our campuses. And under the guise of public safety, student safety, staff safety, that's the reason why we ask a lot of questions. We need to ask more questions. We need to be more sensitive and be on alert and not lax about asking more questions, making sure people have their badges, making sure that when people on our campuses, there's truly a purpose for them being on our campus. And it's really for the safety of our students, and it's for the safety of our staff. Parents have reached out to, principals have reached out to me. What more can we do? I've had 2 parents that specifically say, I stand ready right now. Just tell me what we can do as parents to serve or to volunteer, whatever it takes, to ensure that our school site is safe. So I've really been thinking about this, and I'd like to bring a group of parents together, those who have reached out, bring them in, because those are the people who will do it at the school sites. Have you ever seen, I think about the cartoon Paw Patrol. If you have little kids, you know what Paw Patrol is, right? So the first thing that I thought about was, how about a parent patrol at each of our schools?
How do you know about Paw Patrol?
I know about Paw Patrol because of my nephew that's 6 years old. So, I mean, the concept, the grassroots effect, right, of this is our community, we're going to stand up for our community. So we're thinking about how can we do this at each of our school sites where parents will be the face of, this is our campus, we want our families safe here. So we're going to start walking into that. Parents want to do this. So let's empower them, and let's get them to support their own schools, be present. In my previous district, I had a Dad's Day on a high school campus, where every Tuesday during the lunch hour of a high school campus, and you can imagine what that's like, we had dads volunteering specifically on their lunch hour, being a presence on the campus. It made all the difference in the world. So we're looking into that in terms of what more can we do. I just want to say that it takes the entire community to keep our schools safe. A principal can't do it alone, nor can an assistant principal. It takes everybody to do this together. It takes everybody to say that all of our students are my students. So if I see a student hurting, it's still my student, even though I'm not that student's teacher or I'm not that campus security person assigned in that area. All of our children are all of our children. It's the same for our school communities. We're responsible for all of our schools. So when one school is struggling, we all come together as a community to lift up all of our schools. On March 24th, this is the National March for Our Lives Day. It's being based in Washington, D.C. There is, however, a march happening in Sacramento that I wanted to just mention. It's on a Saturday. So I can imagine that there are many organizations, probably some of our own families will take their children and do the march through Sacramento to the Capitol, demanding for something to be done. So let me just talk about the elephant in the room here. All right, so we're going to talk about March 14th here, okay? March 14th is our National School Walkout. So March 14th is a school day. We need our kids in school because our families need to know that our kids are safe in school. So what we will encourage every single school site to do is participate from 10 o'clock to 10:17 a.m. on that day and do a school-wide activity to take note and also reflect upon the 17 lives that were taken from a senseless act of violence. Now, we're going to leave that to each school site to determine what that looks like. And we will encourage them to walk out on their campus, not off their campus. Because if we have schools out on the sidewalks, my immediate fear is student safety. So we will do that in the confines of our own campus and empower our students to express and demand that it is time to take action for our safety. So we encourage that to happen, and we want all of our kids in school on March 14th. So I also had a student advisory lunch this week, and it was the topic of school safety, because I wanted to hear from the lens of the students. How do you feel on your campus? What can I do better? As a superintendent, what would you tell me to do to help make things better? And they were very, very basic and specific to me. And they said, superintendent, we do drills a lot, and that's good, but we don't take it serious. So that gave me important information. We can't afford to not take our drills seriously. We need all of our staff to ensure that when there's a drill that we do vacate. We need our students to understand why we do this. But they also gave me other pieces of feedback that, and we're not quite sure what the drill is supposed to sound like or what it's supposed to mean. So we need clarifications also. So we're going to take hold on that. And training of our staff is going to be the key thing. And then not just of our staff, but we need to train our students. And then tonight we hear training of our parents of what that means and what these drills mean, what our codes mean, and what it means if you're on campus as parents dropping off and we go into a lockdown, what do we do? So there's a lot of teaching to be done, and that's what I meant earlier in my presentation. This is meant for us to be better at what we do, a continuous cycle of getting better. Westmar, now we're going to go into school celebrations. Okay, here we go. So Westmar Oaks had the Google expeditions, and so you kind of heard some of that tonight. This has got to be the coolest thing that you're going to want to at least pop in on. So tomorrow, Yola High School is combining with Middle College in Google expeditions, and it's a pioneer program. Basically, it brings the field trip to the classroom. They can go to Egypt to see the pyramids. They can go to any national park. They have all of those already lined up through Google. And so when you can't get to there, especially out of state, the field trips can be brought to you in the classroom through technology. And that's what our teachers are learning. And I wanted you to know that at Westmar Oaks, you see the faces there, but here's what one of the kids said. This is awesome. This is the eye of the hurricane. It was about weather. That's a tornado. Oh my gosh, that's an earthquake. So see, if kids don't know what those are, we talk about them all the time, but they actually got to see what it was. So in this, the quote before that was, this is why I became a teacher. I mean, teachers need to have fun in their teaching too, right? And so technology can be a great resource for teachers to be able to explore and even deepen their lessons on and the learning for the kids. We heard in the student report that our Westfield students did a Valley Days and went to Starters Fort, and I'm highlighting this because we've come a long way. We've come a long way that our fourth grade students can count on a field trip and go to learning experiences like this that they will remember for the rest of their life and not just taking a test. This is what school is, right here. River City High School, you also heard it. Man, this kid stole all my thunder. So the mentoring program, I wanted you to know that while I've been on campuses, it's been happening. And while it is a lot of hustle and bustle going on, like where are we going to be, where can the mentors be, the grade school kids are loving it because they have met a high school student to be their mentor and somebody to look up to, somebody to aspire to be. And it's been very, very wonderful. Elkhorn School, we had a principal coffee where the cabinet came over and was able to just sit down and talk to the parents and just listen. And I got to tell you, the biggest cheer that we got from Elkhorn School and Westfield was about preschool coming to their campus next year, and their families are just thrilled that they can be a part of their campus and not have to go to 3 different schools. We have parents that are going to Ellis Norman, to their home school like Elkhorn, and then they have a high school or they go to River City. So this is, that's probably the biggest cheer that's been going on. Wanted to let you know that River City High School and their social studies history courses, there's a mock trial class in Mr. O'Connor's class that happens. And I actually had the honor of being on the jury. So I had to take a lot of notes to figure out, because it was part of their grade, so I had to really pay attention. And it was a great learning experience, but I got to tell you, the kids were extremely well-versed, extremely well-versed. And they went to competition and won the preliminary round. So now they're going to the Yolo County Championships, and I'm saying this to you because Mr. O'Connor mentioned it's the first time that Yolo County Championships has been contested in this manner for us to be there since 2006. So kudos to Mr. O'Connor, and we wish all of the students well. Lastly, I just want to remind all of us, this Saturday, River City High School will be very busy. We are hosting this year the Yolo County African American Youth Leadership Conference. We have over 250 people attending this conference this Saturday. Over 200 students are coming from Washington Unified. This year, we have middle school students from our K-8 schools attending. So we're very, very excited for that. It starts very early at 7:30 a.m. So I will be there at 7:30, and I look forward to a really wonderful, wonderful conference. And that's my update today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda. Any comments?
Yeah, I just had a quick comment. This goes back to the school safety issue, and I'm just bringing this up because I know that there is budget trailer bill language being drafted, or at least being tossed about for the May revise in order to fund SROs at every campus. And while I don't necessarily like the idea of having our campuses seem like a police state, I would hate to turn away an SRO if we can get it funded by the state. So I just wanted to make sure that we keep our eyes and ears open as to those developments going forward.
Yeah, thank you, Trustee Pizzotti. We definitely have our eyes on that and our ears perked up when we did hear about that. And again, I just want to reiterate that our SROs are beyond just the safety. They go to, and I don't know if that's the way it is at every other school or every other district, but what I know in Washington Unified is our SROs are mentors and our counselors to our families and to our students. And that's the beauty of them being on our campus, is it's a positive presence. So we would welcome that, and we are keeping our ears to the ground.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other comments? No? Okay, great. So we're moving on to the consent agenda. Pulling, they've already pulled N5 for the next meeting, and I believe the clarifications have been made by Superintendent Luna. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, consent agenda? Okay, a second?
Second.
Motion by trustee Pizzotti and seconded by Alicia Cruz. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, very good, unanimously approved, thank you. Okay, so, let's see, public hearing? There is no public hearing. So we move on to P, information discussion items. P1, safety procedures. Jerry Smith, Director of Student and Family Services.
Good evening, everyone. I was asked this evening to give you just a brief overview of where we stand at this point in time. Linda covered a great deal of the information that I would be presenting to you. You've been giving our emergency preparedness and crisis response plan. That's a district-wide plan. It's an overview of the way we would do business in various situations. Each one of the school sites, as you heard, will be bringing in their comprehensive school safety site safety plan. I don't think you're going to find anything significant in those, and what I mean by that is that we're required now to use a template provided by the state, which all of our schools do, and it's very basic. And in the case of most of the situations that are set up, most everything is reactionary to what happens. And I think the discussion tonight is kind of led towards us looking and being more proactive in looking at prevention versus reaction to the situations. I would tell you that based on the research that was done last year by the grand jury of Yolo County, that we, compared to all the other school districts, are exemplary. They loved our plan. They loved the way things are set up. They like the way our school sites are set up as far as providing safety in the front areas. This other school districts have been coming to my office a lot this year, reaching out to try to find out some of the things that we had in our plan, and I'll say borrowing some of our information, which is fine because we're all here to try to help one another. One of the things that they were very excited about that we have in every one of our school classrooms, I think you've all seen these before in our classrooms and also in our school offices, are our flip charts. I think they're very useful for all of us in an emergency situation because we're educators. We're not law enforcement, but at the same time, we're put in a position to protect all of our children, and to be able to react in a quick way is wonderful. That's the good news. That we are exemplary as far as other districts. The challenging news is that we have a long ways to go to be able to be in a perfect situation. If you look, if you take the time, and it's not exciting reading, the emergency preparedness plan, but if you look at it, I took the time this weekend to look across at what Parkland had. You would not believe how close duplicate it is, and what a great campus Douglas High School is as far as safety procedures and everything that's set up. And even with that, it didn't stop the madness. So we're in a situation where we have to continue to work on these things, and we will. I promise you that from my office and also from the cabinet and the school sites. We will continue to work on that with everyone. We're always open to suggestions. I think Linda's idea of bringing parents in is a great idea. In the middle 90s, when I was a principal over in Winters, we actually had a Parents on Campus program, and it was wonderful, and it really did help. It helped the parents be a part more of the campus community anyway, but also it just provided extra eyes on the campus. And if we can find a way to make something like that happen, I think it's wonderful. I don't have an answer, you guys. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that there's a panacea for this thing. It's going to take all of us just continuing to work together and try to make these places as safe as possible. I can assure you that each one of the school sites is meeting the required drills that are required by the state. There's different levels of drills that you have to do for elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools, all in lockdown drills, evacuation drills, earthquake drills, etc. We follow the process and get those done. And that's neat and dandy. But that's not the cure, because all those things, once again, are reactionary to certain situations happening. And I think my team from the social service department and the site administrators, when we've had to run into situations, have shown that we can handle reactionary situations. We're there and ready to go. But that's not going to be enough if somebody wants to do something, pretty horrible. That's reality. So once again, at least you have the plan here. You'll get the school site safety plans. Like I said to you, they're not going to be exciting. They're a template that's used by the state, and we have to follow that, and we do. And basically, the difference between each one of the sites includes their site map, which is a little bit different than the others, their evacuation routes, things of that sort. But the plan is the plan from the state. Other questions?
Any questions, Kobe?
I don't know if this is a question or a statement so much as in terms of looking at, like, if there's an active shooter situation, we have only 2 SROs on campus, on any given campus at any time. You know, so do we have maybe we should be looking at, if a call comes in, what's the travel time, the response time from one campus to any other, given, you know, an active shooter with our SROs, and then potentially what is the response time from just a police department. And the reason why I ask this is because there's going to be debate about this idea in the legislature, and there's going to be, especially as it pertains to potentially having SROs on school sites.
Yes.
If we can say, or at least, you know, articulate that it takes, you know, maybe 3 minutes to get from one school site to the other, or from, you know, a patrol car that happens to be patrolling in a nearby neighborhood, it takes maybe 2.5 minutes. If we can get some kind of estimation going on that, then it makes the, you know, the anecdotal story that you're going to present before the legislature that much more compelling.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just hoping that if we have any drills, you know, those drills would at least track that data, you know, as something going forward in terms of being able to display the need.
I'm sure we can get that from our SROs without too much of a problem. They've had to do some type of code 3 reaction to most of the sites within the district, and we have them split in different sides of the town just because of location to be able to help with that. But at the same time, I have to say that my experience in West Sacramento has been when we've had something that looks like it's pretty serious, our SROs are wonderful and they do a great job. The rest of the police force are unbelievable.
Yeah,
they get there as quicker than our SROs do. They do a great job protecting our kids. They really do. We went through a situation yesterday over by the district office.
Yeah.
And within moments, there were 4 cars there and 8 police officers, and they were ready to go. And so, but with that said, I don't know how everybody feels about it. I have my personal opinions. I get to spend probably more time than any other administrator with the SROs as a whole. I believe that if we were given the opportunity to have folks on each campus, using them correctly, not only as in law enforcement officers, but also as those mentors and trainers, I would take in a second personally. But I was going to give you a lot of the details that Linda gave you, which is great. So I'm going to shorten my presentation. But at the same time, I do think we have a long ways to go. I think Don's points are very well taken as far as trying to put together some type of connection between all of us, whether it's the people from the city with law enforcement, the school system, et cetera, and just trying to do what we, according to the grand jury, do well. Let's do it better.
Trustee Wong has a question.
Yeah, I do. In the same heartbeat, I put a school social worker on every campus for, you know,
Boy, howdy.
Similar price,
Not
right?
gonna-
Who are mentors and counselors. Parkland had an SRO as well as campus security, right? So
Oh, yeah, there's not a
I mean, they were there. They were on campus, and it still happened. To your point, is that you can control so much. Someone wants to do something, you pull a fire alarm, the evacuation to leave.
Yeah.
You know, they're gonna do it. I did want to also, I mean, what I said in my public comments is that you guys have worked really well with the West Sac PD, right? That every time that we've ever heard of anything, they're spot on. Not necessarily our SROs, but your partnership with the West Sac PD
Absolutely.
itself.
Absolutely.
Right. Every time there's been something, they've been there for us, from what I've seen, right? And so. The other thing is that, you know, we are all very concerned, but from my short time here, or even as a parent here, y'all have handled kind of safety issues really, really well, right? Whether that be somebody coming into the office yelling at people, or fights between adults, or students, you have. To your point, I think one of the reasons that a lot of people are calling you is I may have told somebody at the Department of Education that the grand jury investigation actually had a lot of commendations and held us up as a really model program for Yolo County, and because that was done as a third-party grand jury investigation compared to some place like Davis or other communities. So in part, that's something that we weren't necessarily target ourselves, but to be able to kind of come out of that to say, you guys did this, and you guys did it right, with a couple of exceptions, right, that we know that we've named tonight. But I just have to make that statement and allay some fears, is that a separate investigation was made to say, we are doing everything right here.
Right. No, I appreciate that, and I think that
Right?
was the point, that we are doing it right. I think there's room to improve. I think we all agree with that.
There's always
we'll find different things that can help.
There will always be, and if someone
Yeah.
pulls a fire alarm,
It's the worst nightmare. I look back as a high school principal, and it's something that after the Parkland thing, I thought about talking about all of our principals at all the sites, that if we end up in a situation where we have a lockdown, at least if we have the lockdown and then they decided to pull the alarm, that one of our announcements, instead of just saying lockdown, is that lockdowns, you have to stay in a room. If the fire alarm goes off, do not go outside. Go ahead and just say it out loud. They used to have us tell a lot of code words and stuff. There's no sense in doing that now. You just say, this is what we got going, and lock it down. I wish I had more information that would be more exciting, but I think that it's exciting that we're taking on the idea of bringing in some of the community and having them help part of the process.
More questions? Alicia Cruz and then Sarah. Thank you.
Well, I agree with most that we can't put all the responsibility on our staff and our teachers on each site. Something that Superintendent Luna stated was kind of disturbing to me, and that's when she met with the student site council, where the students themselves say, yeah, we do all these drills, but we don't take them seriously.
That's a concern.
And it is. So we can sit here and do all the drills day after day, and they're not taking it seriously. And we as adults and administrators and teachers are trying to come up with ideas and process, but I think it's very important. The parents on campus is great. Why don't we have a group of students on each site as well that can work with these parents? Because the students, if they hear their peers saying, this is serious, get in, versus an adult they don't know, I think having the students be part of the preparedness, the readiness, versus just adults telling them this is what you're going to do, they're not going to take it seriously. But if they're part of it and share, just like the peer mediation at River City, it's peer-to-peer mediation. But I think it's really important that the students are involved also, because in my opinion, then these drills are being useless if they're not taking them seriously. So it's a comment. I know you don't have an answer, but it's something that
I think it's a good idea.
It was kind of concerning to hear that the students say they don't take them seriously.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
Sarah Kirby Gonzalez.
Hi. I normally try to make like 2 to 3 points, but I have like 8, so I'm sorry. One, sorry. We're all grappling with it, and there's not a quick place. So, but I promise next time I'll do 2 to 3 points. So first, this is so many prongs. There's not one answer. If there's one easy answer, we'd be done and we'd have our answer. And an AR will shoot through a police vest. And so there's a lot of, we need our police. We need them, to be there and react. But that's why we have trained SWAT teams, and that's why we have trained officers, and, this is just a big piece. A couple of things that stood out. One, I'm so glad that you said no more code words, because I'm still hearing some staff members around the district talk about, well, what code do we use? And I think, no code. There might be a substitute teacher one day. No code. Lock down, get down, whatever it might be. It needs to just be so clear. So I'm really glad you said that, and I hope that that's universal across our schools, because sometimes I've still talked to teachers and they're talking about codes.
Ours is very much
Good.
go to lockdown.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then a piece that came up from parents recently was that their students were taking it seriously, but that some of the parents weren't, because they went into lockdown right before school started that day, and parents said, okay, bye, I'm gonna go. And they said, no, we're under lockdown. You can't walk out this door, the door's closed. But I have to get to work. And you know, we understand what that pressure is like, but no, we're on lockdown, you can't leave right now. Or well, I wanna hold my child. Well, we need to get away from the window. And so some work training parents, because this doesn't always happen at the perfect time you've practiced. It could be before school, after school, lunch, recess. And so maybe if there's a sheet or something that can just go home to be communicated to families of what happens if you drive up, drop your child off, and there's a lockdown while you're in the school grounds, I think is important. The breakaway gates at the high school, you know, that was one of the hardest things about coming on the board, because it was like, well, let's put a gate, just put a gate in. Just go, you know, to Home Depot and put a gate in. And we had to learn about all of the processes that happen, you know, and then finally we get it approved, and then it's the DSA and stuff. So, but that should have started a long time ago, and that's not on you, but that's just, you know, on our pieces here. And so I'm so glad that we're just getting to that place finally, because those are hard, you know, not getting those immediate responses is something that feels like it should be simple, and the community feels like it should be simple. They don't know why these things take time. I just want to make sure as we look at our facilities that all windows are closing well, blinds are fixed, all of those things. I know we have a lot of administrators in the room. I've certainly taught at schools with half my blinds that are falling off. And so whatever we can do in our facilities to support that if we need to, I think is very important. And so, but we need to know that if they're not working. And
she is crossing them off.
I am crossing them off. I had parents come to me about a school site. River City certainly one I hear a lot about because it's so open. The other one, and I really thought thoroughly on every single school site and how you walk in, what it looks like, how our kids are there. And the concern I heard about was at Bridgeway, because if students need to go to the office, they come back through and go through the front. And these schools that are somewhat similar, Stonegate, Southport, they don't do that. They come through the back of the office in. So I think we need to look at that because it's not in line with what's happening at every other school. And we do then have an opening where kids are going out. It's a small office, it's a big school. I know that that could be a burden having kids go through the office, but I think we need to look at that and figure it out for students to be, not to have that front gate just open. Any way we can deter, I think, is important. So for that piece too. And then the last piece I'll say that really goes through, almost the last piece I'll say, that goes through every school site is when I talk to teachers sometimes, I think a lot of our teachers lock their doors, a lot do, but I've talked to teachers at quite a few different schools and some have said, well, you know, I can get to my door real quick and kids are coming in and out and I understand that burden. I started, you know, teaching when 13 years ago our doors were open and man, parents would just come in and bring the cupcakes, that our doors were always open and they were there and they felt like a great community. There were no badges, they just came in. And when we changed and said your doors are always locked, it was hard to change to that. What do you mean my door is locked? This isn't a prison. And it was a hard mindset. But you know, one day I had a phone call of a parent who was coming for me, for my room, because CPS was called and took his kid away. And he was a scary parent with a lot of prison time under his belt. And I got a call to lock that door, and I ran with a room full of second graders, and I couldn't get the door to lock because my hands are frazzled. There's 3 keys on there. Something that seems simple, I couldn't do. And thank God my principal screams down the hallway and gets him. And that taught me why we always lock our door. And so, but we do have teachers in this district, a lot lock their doors, a lot get it, but a lot don't. And I know because I just had these conversations this week. And so what I would say, every door lock that we can, but what you can do is you can put, you know, a quick wedge in the door. You can put a little loop around the handles so that it can open and shut for people when you have kids going to, you know, SST or they're going to speech or wherever they're going. And it's so quick to pull that off. You don't need a teacher to do it. A kid can do it. They pull it off, door's locked. And I think we need to make sure that happens, because that's my biggest fear, and that's one of the easiest things. One of our California shootings we just had, what helped stop it? All the locked doors. And so I want to balance what is important for kids, and I want to balance having a good learning environment and letting kids work outside. I want to have all of that, but I just want to balance it with making sure we're being smart. And that's simple, and it's free, and it's cheap, and it's important. And then my last piece would be, we talk a lot about mental health, and it is important, connecting with people. All of these are so important. But I also want us to remember that we have had many children in this district who are murdered over domestic violence. And I want to be very clear, too, of teaching our kids and our girls, reach out, be friends, be there for somebody, but also, what does domestic violence look like? Don't enter into a relationship like that, so it's not safe. And so I just want to make sure we're looking at that, too, and that we're not only looking at resources to help these kids that have all this trouble, because sometimes they're not safe, and we need to make sure we protect our kids too. And so I just want to balance that with it, and thank you for listening through that, and thank you for all that you do, and thank you to all the principals in here, all the teachers in here. I know it's hard for all of us. When you go to work every day, it's an extra weight on everybody's shoulders, and I know that you care about nothing more than keeping your kids safe. I know that's your number one priority. So thank you for doing that, and for everything you do. And when a parent asked me today and said, they were asking me about a concern, I said, I can't talk to you about it. They said, well, do you feel comfortable sending your child to school tomorrow? And I could answer that, and I said, yes, I do, because we have an incredible team of people in this district, and yes, I do. And I will drop her off tomorrow, and you can drop your daughter off too, and she will be okay with all of these people. And so there are things here that sometimes are out of our control, but I am confident that we have the best people in place. So thank you.
Jerry, thank you so much. And I really believe this dialogue has been very helpful. There were some very good recommendations made by all the board members up here. I just want to bring something to your attention. I had two people, community members, who had some questions about the new bike trail that's coming in, or walkway, on Westmore Oaks. So that's something that maybe we can pay some attention to.
Yeah, I would probably go through facilities and those things, but sure. I agree.
Okay, that's great. Now, we do have one public comment. Thank you, Jerry.
Okay.
We have one public comment from Karen Zanato. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for giving me the chance to speak. I'm sorry I came so late, so I'm sure I missed most of what you already discussed, and I apologize if I'm bringing something up that you already discussed. But I see Principal Chin's here. Partly based on the events of last week, but also the lockdown that was at Bridgeway today, I was just curious if there's standard kind of events that trigger a lockdown procedure at the schools, and what the policy is on when the parents are notified. Because I know when I picked up my daughter today, I heard about the lockdown from her, and then I didn't get the phone call from school until 3 o'clock. So, it was kind of surprising to hear that my daughter had a lockdown today and she was in her classroom crying, and that I didn't know about it until afterwards. So I don't know if that's a school-by-school issue, decision, or...
Jerry, can I have you come and answer that? Or Superintendent Luna?
President Alcala, we're going to ask Principal Chin to meet directly with our parent after her public comment to address those specific questions.
All right, thank you so much.
So is that a school-specific decision then, or?
This is a public comment, so we're going to take the comments, and
Okay.
then we'll be able to address them.
Great.
Off to the side.
Okay.
Thank you.
great.
Oh,
Thank
no,
you
no,
so much.
please finish your comments.
Well, those were just the questions that I wanted to ask, and I got input from other parents as well that had similar questions, parents at Bridgeway, as well as parents from other schools. So I just wanted to make sure that was addressed.
Thank you so much. Okay, so now we are moving to action items. Okay, Q1, approval of revised classified management and confidential salary schedule, salary range for the chief business officer, and the addition of the salary range for the night manager, operations, services, Michael Reed, assistant superintendent, human services.
So earlier in the consent agenda, you approved 2 job descriptions, one for the chief business officer and the other for the night manager operations. And so the salary schedule that is that you have in front of you is to adjust for both of those positions being added or adjusted. The night manager is a new position. Night manager operations is a new position, but the CBO is more, I would say, more of a revised position to help us go out and recruit a highly qualified candidate for that position.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion unanimously approved. Q2, approval of math curriculum adoption grade 6, CPM Andy Parsons, Assistant Superintendent, Education Services. Thank you, Andy.
Good evening, President Alcala, Board of Education, Cabinet, and guests. At the last board meeting, we did a public hearing on 6th grade CPM. As you know, our 7th and 8th grade math teachers currently have CPM. We did a pilot this year with our teachers. We have 6. Currently, we have 6 math teachers, 6th grade math teachers. We have a long-term sub, and we have a teacher at Westfield who teaches 6th grade in a self-contained classroom who has been using CPM as well. The process, so the board is aware, is that, like I said, they have been piloting since the beginning of the year. And then I brought CPM in to do training over one of our professional collaboration days, as well as sent our teachers to UC Davis to get training on CPM. Then I took it on the January 11th Math Cadre meeting. I took it before Math Cadre and said, okay, what do you think? And there were no questions. They said, go ahead. And then I also met with the 6th grade Dream Team and asked them, are we ready to go forward with this? And there were no questions from them as well, and they said, that's fine. I met with the 6th grade team last week as they were developing units for CPM. They have been, as part of the Dream Team, they did not use Go Math. They decided to use CPM to do their Dream Team work and create units and common assessments. And so tonight we asked the board to approve 6th grade CPM.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I move.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. First by Member Wong, second by Member Pizzotti, and unanimously approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are now moving to Q3, approval of resolution number 1718-13 to declare surplus property. Brad Von Stryver, Director of MOT.
Good evening. Thank you for the introduction. I am not Paul Desario.
I was wondering earlier.
I'm not Irish either. So the spirit of this resolution is to streamline operations out in the field. Currently, we must go to the board, and you've received recommendations previously to dispose of surplus property. And we're finding that that extra layer of approval process creates logistical issues sometimes, depending on how we have to dispose of assets. Sometimes we send them to auction, and the auctions are only so often. And that time lag to get it to the board, to get the approval, might actually hamper our ability to do that, just one of the situations that we get into. We also have a storage issue. A lot of the places that we were storing things, and oftentimes we store things that shouldn't be stored for indefinite periods of time. They've been in classrooms at Bright, they've been at Westmore Oaks, they've been at Washington Middle College High School, which now we're finding uses for those places that are much better than storing obsolete equipment for indefinite periods. And the spirit of the original policy to request board approval, it makes sense. In theory, when you do it in practice, it actually is creating a backlog, it's creating a storage issue, and it has us actually using some of our resources to inventory these items that are end of their useful life. So we spend a lot of time counting these things and counting them again, and then we have to keep track of them and store them somewhere. And oftentimes we just get into spending a lot of resources that we just don't have to give. So just in a nutshell, this is just asking if we can knock this down one notch from the board to the superintendent or her designee and have staff that are perfectly capable of assessing whether this is of any value to the district or not, to move forward and dispose of that property in the appropriate manner, whether it's public auction or a charitable contribution or just plain throwing it away if it has no value. So that's really what this is in a nutshell. So.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from Trustee Cruz.
I do, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot because I know you're not Paul, but
It's okay.
We recently had a special board meeting on facilities, and we saw some horrific storage issues. So will this, while this is just a resolution, are you going to tell us you're going to clean those rooms out?
Correct.
Promise?
I'm going to do my best.
Okay. Live TV, just
Yeah,
checking.
this helps. Yeah.
Trustee Cruz says she would help.
I will. I supervise well.
And that's, I think actually, it shouldn't have, but I think actually this process that we have in place created that, just from human behavior, but not because it's not a bad idea, it's just because it doesn't get practiced that way out in the field, so.
Okay.
Okay, great.
I
Any more
too had questions
Go ahead.
about that earlier, but I got my questions answered earlier in the day, so I would move this item.
Okay, very good. It's been moved by Member Pizzotti, second.
I'll second.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I'll second.
all right, Sarah seconds. And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And
Thank
I
you so
also vote
much.
aye, so unanimously approved. Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Q4, approval of resolution number 1718-14 in support of Farm Connection Day, May 4th, 2018. Linda Luna.
Wow, this is high. Thank you, President Alcala. This resolution, 1718-14, is a resolution in regards to Farm Connection Day that is being held on March 4th, 2018. This resolution supports that students can go on field trips to specifically encounter this day. And there's a lot of our curriculum and also our studies and learning experiences having to do with Farm Connection. We have our Bright Culinary Program. We have our Farm to Fork. We have all of our school gardens. All of this is connected to the official Farm Connection Day in Yolo County. So the superintendents in Yolo County are bringing this to our boards to allow students and classrooms, should they choose to participate on this field trip, to be able to do so with your blessing.
Thank you. Do we get a motion?
I just want to confirm, you said March 4th?
May
says May?
4th. May
Okay.
4th. Thank you.
Okay.
So moved.
All right. And do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, moved by Trustee Pizzotti and seconded by Trustee Wong. All in favor?
Aye.
Is this a resolution or no?
Oh, oh, you know, you're absolutely right.
Does it need?
Does it,
It's an individual.
so it would be an individual?
Roll call.
Okay, then we may have, do we need to go back on Q3 as well? So let's do Q4. Okay, Board Member Alicia Cruz.
Aye.
Board Member Sarah Kirby-Gonzalez.
Aye.
Board Member Kobe Pizzotti.
Aye.
Board Member Jackie Wong.
Aye.
And Board Member Norma Alcala, aye. Okay, unanimously. So let's go back to Q3.
You already have a motion.
We have the motion on the right, so we're just going to go through the roll call vote. So it is Alicia, Board
Aye.
Member Alicia Cruz, thank you. Sarah Kirby-Gonzalez.
Aye.
Kobe Pizzotti.
Aye.
Jackie Wong.
Aye.
And Norma Alcala, aye. We all vote unanimously to approve. Okay, thank you. So we are now at board governance. Here we go. R1, approval of resolution number 1718-17, calling for full and fair funding to California Public Schools. Jackie Wong.
So I'm presenting this on behalf of a request from CSBA, who's kind of been on, and I know that you all have been receiving the emails and looking at our budgets and all that kind of good stuff, is that kind of the budget deficit that we're seeing is one that is actually being seen all across the state, because basically what full funding of LCFF means is that we pretty much got paid what we were paid in 2007. So that's about 10 years old. The resolution here is actually a call to the state legislature to fully fund education, which we know historically has been underfunded. And I know that Trustee Kirby Gonzalez has actually mentioned this several times over the years, and that this is actually our statement as a board to say, one, we've been underfunded, and two, that actually to fully fund and fully implement the local control funding formula to its intent, we actually need more money. So that's kind of the highlight of it all, and I don't know if you all saw it. We are part of CSBA's, I forget the law group that participated in a lawsuit that was trying to say that it was unlawful for the state to fund us at certain levels. We tried to appeal the decision, and it was denied. So that's all in the resolution. So this resolution is just a call to the legislature to fully fund education.
Okay.
So I just have a quick comment,
Yeah.
and I completely agree with this, and this is well on the way of what we need. But we have been funded at the floor for far too long. Even the LCFF should be considered the floor and not the ceiling, and the legislature is considering it basically the ceiling because it's their obligation to fund to this level. This is all they have to do, not more. And they need to realize that if we want our students to succeed and to have programs that make our students thrive, then we have to do more, and we have to fund them better. So with that, I would move this.
Would you like to read the resolution?
Or any more discussion?
Any more discussion?
Okay.
All right.
I will read it. So, whereas California has the sixth largest economy. Oh,
No.
did somebody second the
We'll let her
motion?
read it, and then we'll do the
We do
motion.
motion
Yeah.
afterwards.
Sorry, okay. So, resolution number 1718-17, resolution calling for full and fair funding of California's public schools. Whereas California has the sixth largest economy in the world and the largest gross domestic product of any state in the nation, and whereas despite California's leadership in the global economy, the state fails in the nation's bottom quintile on nearly every measure of public K-12 school funding and school staffing. And whereas California ranks 45th nationally in the percentage of taxable income spent on education, 41st in per pupil funding, 45th in pupil-teacher ratios, and 48th in pupil-staff ratios. Whereas under the local control funding formula, state funding for K-12 schools has only this year recently returned to levels predating the Great Recession of 2007. And whereas the revenue increases since the implementation of LCFF has been eroded by rapidly increasing costs for healthcare, pensions, transportation, and utilities, and 58% of California's public school students are eligible for free and reduced lunch price, 13% above the national average, and 23% of California students are English learners, more than twice the national average, and whereas California's investment in public schools is out of alignment with its wealth, its ambitions, its demographics, and the demands of a 21st century education, and whereas in 2007, a bipartisan group of California leaders commissioned a report titled Getting Down to the Facts, which stated it would take an additional $17 billion annually to meet the State Board of Education achievement targets for K-12. And whereas in 2016, a California School Board Association report, California's Challenge, Adequately Funding Education in the 21st Century, updated the Getting Down to Facts data and determined that just adjusting for inflation, an additional $22 billion to $40 billion annually would be required to provide all public school students with access to a high-quality education. And whereas California funds schools at roughly $1,961 per student, less than the national average, which translates to approximately $3,462 per student when adjusted for California being a high-cost state. And whereas California trails the average of the top 10 states by almost $7,000 in per pupil funding, and whereas in Robles-Wong, not me, versus State of California, A group of plaintiffs led by CSBA argued that California's school funding system violated Article 9 of the state constitution by denying all students access to an education that prepares them for an economic security and full participation in our democratic institutions. And whereas the California Supreme Court declined to hear the case by a 4-3 margin, prompting Justice Goodwin H. Liu to write, "It is regrettable that this court, having recognized education as a fundamental right in a landmark decision 45 years ago with Serrano v. Priest, should now decline to address the substantive meaning of that right. And whereas, in order to prepare our students for participation in a democratic society and an increasingly competitive, technology-driven global economy, California must fund schools at a level sufficient to support student success. And whereas despite its vast wealth, California has consistently underfunded public education while widening its scope, adding new requirements, and raising standards without providing appropriate resources to prepare all students for college, career, and civic life. And whereas if California is to close opportunity and achievement gaps and create a public school system that offers consistently high levels of education, the state must provide schools with the resources to meet the needs of their specific population. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Governing Board of the Washington Unified School District urges the state legislature to fund California public schools at the national average or higher by the year 2020 and at a level that is equal or above the average of the top 10 states nationally by 2025, and to maintain at minimum this level of funding until otherwise decreed.
Okay, very good. Now we'll go to roll call vote. I'm sorry, motion, I'm sorry. We hadn't done the motion yet. Motion?
Oh, I motion to approve.
Okay, very good. Second?
I will second.
Okay.
It's taking a while.
All right. All right. So we're going to do a roll call vote now. Alicia Cruz.
Aye.
Sarah Kirby-Gonzalez.
Aye.
Kobe Pizzati.
Aye.
Jackie Wong.
Aye.
And Norm Alcala. I also vote aye, and it has been unanimously approved. Thank you. Okay, so now we are at R2, action. Revised board policy, administrative regulation, AR 1312.3, uniform complaint procedures, community relations, human resources. Thank you.
So as you know, we are going through the federal program monitoring process. And so this is a further revision to our uniform complaint process that is, I'd say, managed and monitored out of the Human Resources Department. And so we're bringing this forward to you this evening to make some further revisions to the board policy in AR 1312.3 to make sure they reflect what is required.
Okay, very good. Can I get a motion to approve? Any questions, first of all?
I have a motion to approve the
Okay.
resolution 1718-17.
Okay, thank you. And second?
Second.
Okay, motion by trustee Cruz, seconded by trustee Pizzati, and this is it's a regulation, so,
Resolution.
no, we just, all in favor?
The resolution.
It's a resolution, I'm sorry.
Yes, 1718-17.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Or is that? for the-
No, we're on
That was
we're on
CSBA.
revised board.
That's at the
This is
bottom.
board
This
policy
is-
revision.
Yeah.
I'm
so
sorry.
It's
That was
okay.
right above it, sorry.
Okay, it's
not even
okay,
late,
not a
it's
problem.
9:30.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Did I
I'm
hear
gonna-
any, okay, I was
yeah.
going to say any noes, or what, abstention?
I abstain.
Okay. Okay, very good.
Appearance of conflict of interest.
Okay, very
With
good.
the
So it
department.
passes with 4 ayes and 1 abstention. Thank you. Okay, very good. R3, action. 2018 California School Board Association Delegate Assembly election.
Motion to approve?
Okay, second?
I'll second.
Okay, second, very good. Trustee Cruz makes the motion, seconded by Sarah Kirby-Gonzalez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I abstain? I'm just joking.
Okay.
Aye.
Okay, so is that 5 ayes? Okay, very good. No noes. Okay, and unanimously approved. Okay, very good. So future board agenda items. Here we go. Board governance session, board self-evaluation. Sarah, okay, very good for next. And Kobe, you wanted board handbook. Okay, very good. All right.
Did you hear, so this was the the resolution in support of facilities, in support of what's already been passed by voters, but just that the money's released. So if we put that on, and then if we agree and we'd want that on, then it can get to the Coalition for Adequate School Housing, who's going to present all of those for our facility money.
Okay.
And then I would ask that either at our meeting or through a correspondence with an update that we have, that we hear a little bit more as the date gets closer after principals meet with staffs about March 14th, so we know what messages to give as well, because, you know, this is a district with pre-K all the way up to high school, and very different conversations happen with little ones versus, so I just would like to have some more background on what that
Okay.
looks like as it gets closer.
Okay, very good. Anyone else? Okay, very good. So can we get a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second. Are you sure you guys want to leave
No,
this early?
let's
No.
go.
All right.
I'm outta here.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned. Thank you.